On this episode of the Hot Rod Garage, we get one step closer to this.
Welcome back to Hot Rod Garage. I am Alex Taylor. This would be Lucky Costa, and all of this surrounding me would be Hot Rod Garage. You know those funny shows where it's like, oh, we're gonna lose the shop if we don't get this project done. We actually lost the shop. I'm actually outside. Hot Rod Garage is that way, and let me tell you why. So on the last episode, you saw that Lucky didn't get to be with us for about half the episode because unfortunately, he caught a positive COVID test. So then we had a backup plan. Dad and I were gonna work on the Savoy, which we did. We got a lot of work done. Lucky was gonna rejoin us and we were going to hit it hard and make it for Woodward. But then a wrench got thrown in the plan because Dad also caught a positive COVID test and that kind of messed things up a little bit more. We were gonna work for a couple days, Lucky and I, and then Dad was gonna come back and we were gonna continue. But then another wrench in the plan is I caught a positive COVID test about 10 minutes ago, which means I can't go in the shop. And I see the Savoy sitting in there. It's July 22nd, and we have to be in Michigan to race at Roadkill Nights on Woodward on August 13th. And the math there just doesn't work out too well because you guys saw the Savoy was a shell. It was sitting on a chassis jig, and there's a lot of work to be done. So any days out of the shop at this point for an almost impossible project really makes the project really almost impossible, and that's something that I can't accept, and I don't think anyone else here at Hot Rod Garage can accept that either. So a workaround that is we're going to do a little thieving and pull the Savoy outside, load it on a trailer while it's still on the jig. We're going to take as many of the parts that we can and that we need and load them in the truck and then steal some tools like the bandsaw and maybe an air compressor and all of the things that would help us finish this chassis. And we're gonna go find a shop to put it in, which is in the works right now. And then as soon as we have that figured out, we're gonna work for a couple days in quarantine. And then as soon as we can get back in Hot Rod Garage, we will be back. But in the meantime, bear with me because I'm gonna be also your cameraman as we go into this. Don't judge me too hard, but you will see the progress. The Savoy is gonna happen, and I'll see you guys at the shop. Savoy is here. Stuff is here. It's good. We are going to be in quarantine garage here. We've got our engine and transmission. Welcome back, bud. Now that you're a COVID crew, I can shake your hand. So, the car is here. As you can see, we still have just as much work to do. Thought you guys might want a quick tour of what we're working with for the next few days or week plus.
2 weeks maybe.
We don't know yet.
We don't know. However long it takes, right?
Right. So right here we have our tubing notcher set up. We're waiting on stuff to still arrive because getting out in a very quick rush, lots of stuff got left there, but that's here. And then we've got our something that looks like a bandsaw.
Kind of resembles one, but not really.
It does not cut straight. And then over here we do have the jig set up and it's back and square. And
we have our laser set up on a camera mount. Look at our awesome metal rack to support our main wheel. It just happened to be perfect. So this is what I get to live out of: welding helmet and assemble struts and etc.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and then here's our engine and transmission. This is we have tires. That's a good thing because that was going to be an issue. And then we've got our metal supply area here.
So now we have 2 weeks to build a race car out of that.
And we got that.
Okay, so it was going to be difficult for me to come out to somebody's shop that I'm not used to and build a race car from scratch. Well, it was a pretty nice shop and I got pretty used to where the tools were. Now we're here and we're having to bring a few tools with us. The next step is a rest area.
Parking lot party.
Yeah, we'll be in a parking lot building.
All right, so new day in quarantine garage. I guess that's what we're going to call it.
COVID capital.
COVID capital. We are here and set up in this makeshift unit that actually turned out to work out pretty well for the circumstances.
That's cool.
This unit that we're in is about 3 doors down from where Lucky's at, and then a couple more doors down from where his other unit's at. So it works out. It's very convenient.
It's kind of like, what do you call that, where they bring food to you? DoorDash?
Yeah.
Except it's Tool Dash. Yeah, Lucky Dash.
So, as far as the Savoy goes, we did get a lot of stuff done. So main rails, got the measurement for those figured out in place, went with a 23-inch spread on the main rails. Got the front struts fixtured and figured out where we want the center line of the front wheel to be. And then got the front control arms actually tacked in place as well.
You can see back at the back, that's where wider than our rear clip is, which is typical because you got such a big tire back there. So we really didn't have any rules that we had to follow. We can set these as wide as we want. The wider, the better, but at some point you can actually get so wide that your control arms are so short that I don't like that. So 23 inches is what we decided upon.
So we're getting ready to jump to the main hoop, and that's going to be kind of determined where seat placement's going to be and pedal placement's going to be. So a little bit more figuring, and then we can just connect the dots, basically.
Yep. So this morning we started with these 6x6 plates. We bent them to fit over the sheet metal rocker panels that we put in. And then we built the bars that we notched for the main rails, tied them out here. That's our starting point. That was necessary to get the main hoop set. What you didn't see or don't see is where we mocked up a fake seat in order to get the main hoop front to back placement correct. So we're setting the motor back a lot further than we're actually setting the main hoop back, but that's kind of because you have short legs.
That is a fact.
Once we got the crossbar in, we put these rear bars, which isn't part of the kit. We just used some of the material, came back, decided how we wanted to do it. We could go through the package tray. So now the body's tied top and bottom. Then we put these diagonals, typically these called D-bars. It can go anywhere as long as it ties to the main frame. So what we did was diagonally just angled them back. Well, if you look at everything's triangulated, so it's very strong. That'll give the back all the support that it needs. So basically everything from the main hoop back is in and welded. We have an upper halo, or in our case, we're gonna have an upper bar that goes down to the front of the frame. This takes place of the halo. And then we're gonna have a windshield bar to tie these two together and a dash bar in the middle to tie the two together. All this keeps the roof from collapsing in the event of a wreck.
The inside down bars are in, the dash bar is also tacked in, and the windshield bar is tacked in. So while I weld all of those up, Dad is working on the forward down bars.
This is just a piece of stock pipe, but we cut a hole in here and a hole there. It's got to go back. You're on my bracket and intersect with this dash bar and the down bar.
So this is where it's intersecting here.
And then we're going to come out here at this bracket and bend down and tie it right here. And that will be our front frame supports.
New day here at Quarantine Garage. There's a couple elephants in the room. We'll start with this Hemi. Actually, we'll go over here first. We got a new helper standing here. This is Greg Peterson. Say hi.
Hi.
So this is one of Dad's friends from Orange, California, and just so happens that he went on an Alaskan cruise and also tested positive for COVID. So rather than being in quarantine by himself, why not come to Quarantine Garage? So we are at the point today of putting floors kind of in, starting to work on that. So
once we get a motor mounted,
yeah,
and seat mounted.
Good to have. Quiet on set, Greg. He's new here. We'll figure it out. But we're at the point of doing sheet metal work on the floors, and that's exciting. So we're gonna hop back over here, get some work done, and then we'll come back to it later. So right here, as you can see, the lower control arm brackets and tabs there welded up. This upper mounting bracket is now welded up, and then engine is kind of sat in place. It's obviously not mounted or anything like that. It's literally just in a mock-up position, but that is progress nonetheless. Seat is in here, so we are working on location there as well as location for the pedals. Got these braces from the dash bar down to the main rails in, and then moving back here, got it stiffened up and cut these. There were some hinges, bottoms of hinges that were attached to this side, and they're real head knockers, so got those cut off and added some bracing from there to the package tray, and then from the package tray down to the main rails. So really good progress, and we're about to get some more done. With Greg's help, we started cutting sheet metal to construct our floors and seal up our body to our almost finished chassis. Off camera, we were using cardboard cutouts as patterns to fab up these panels, as well as motor and transmission mounts. During this time, we were also adding more bracing to the chassis and mounting the rack and extending the control arms to the heim joints. After a lot of work and a little bit of time, we were finally at the point of finishing up the firewall, the floor, and the wheel tubs that were built from scratch. We finished mounting the pedals and the steering column and the engine and transmission, and we added a few more bars to the chassis for strength and prepared the car to go back to the regular tech center where we would be completing the Savoy. As we continued to thrash on that, we pulled out the motor and transmission so that Lucky could take them down to his shop and pin the crank for the new balancer and install the clutch.
You just here to have fun?
Hi.
We got work to do, bud. What was that?
A donut. I love donuts in the morning.
Good.
How have you been?
Oh, pretty good. You know.
You guys doing anything over here?
Oh, you know, only like dying from all kinds of work. All right, so last year when we did our Hellcat grudge match with the Challenger that Dad and I built, we learned a lot of ins and outs that comes with these Hellcat engines. We have got some parts researched and found. We've got balancer pinning. We've got the clutch found and sourced. We have done all kinds of research to make sure this is going to be as in good of a condition as we can get it in a short period of time.
So Alex and Dennis pulled the motor and transmission back out of the Savoy. They pushed it out of the shop. I went over and grabbed it with the forklift. I'm going to set the transmission on here because what we're going to need to do is put the flywheel on. It's a balanced flywheel and clutch assembly, set up the throttle bearing, torque everything to spec, put it all back together. Honestly, just kind of sit with it for a little while and just appreciate the loveliness of it, and then take it back over to them so they can get it back in. So let's get this party started. And there it is. So they sent us a motor set up for a automatic transmission, so it has a flex plate instead of a actual flywheel. Difference is flex plate just holds weights if required and has the teeth for the starter motor. We have a flywheel, clutch assembly, and a hydraulic throwout bearing to replace all the stuff that's here, and that's what I'm going to install right now. Okay, so this is a puck style clutch. It's multi-disc. This is all goodness right here. This is all race car goodness. When you take apart a multi-disc clutch, a couple things you need to keep track of, and that is the balance on them. Whenever you get them, they will have a reference. Usually they'll take a dowel and just do a little dink, mark everything, maybe 1, 2, and 3, and there's the blue mark right there. So you see it all. It weighs nothing. This is a pretty sick flywheel. Pretty sure the torque specs are 75 pounds. We'll run them in by hand. This is a very specific pilot bearing. It is not a bushing, it's a bearing. It's got needle bearings right inside there, plus it has a collar on the outside, specifically to fit the crankshaft and the transmission. It's always a good habit to test fit it, just to make sure it fits. And yeah, good. That's good. And I already know it fits here. This is a bearing installer. That sounds very solid. We're going to torque the floater plates to 25 as per the instructions. And we will then install the pressure plate, making note of where the blue stripe is because that's where it's all balanced. No Loctite necessary. And that's how you tell right there. If the alignment tool that comes with the clutch assembly slides through both discs and then into the throttle bearing comfortably, and you can feel each component, goes in there nice and neat with no grease on it, there's no reason the transmission shouldn't slide in just as easy. We're moving on. Right now we're gonna pin the crankshaft. So what I'm getting ready to do is pull off the stock harmonic balancer. This is all fine and dandy for street application. Since we're going to the racetrack, we're stepping it up a notch. Once I get that off, I will be putting on a little fixture that slides over the crankshaft, which then allows me to drill into the crank and set 2 pins so that when I put the ATI balancer on there, fluid dampener, which is a more performance component, it will be locked. The gig is the crankshaft is what's driving the supercharger. If it's not on there super tight, it will spin on the crankshaft, creating a problem. We're gonna get ahead of that problem before it occurs. The ATI pulley is installed. We have a new belt over there, but since the supercharger is just sitting here, we can't install that just yet. That's it. I think I'm gonna put this on the forklift and sneak it down the way, give it back to Alex and Dennis, and let them do what they do down at Hot Quarantine Garage. Okay, welcome back to Hot Rod Garage. Speaking of Hot Rod Garage, have you been over in Hot Quarantine Garage?
I didn't even know the shop still existed, to be honest.
I see you guys got a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, because up to this point, you've only seen basically this view forward.
Right. Oh yeah, tech tip. If you want something done halfway, don't call Dennis Taylor.
I learned it from my dad.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Don't call you either. Nothing's done halfway.
We basically built a full chassis car in about 10 days.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a car. It's not yet, but it looks
I believe we have like a short list. Did you write that?
Yeah, and I think I missed a couple things.
Oh.
Yeah.
So your dad and his buddy are still in town?
Yeah, so Dad and Greg are in town. They're going to be back with us today.
What's the license plate on Greg's truck?
I fabbed for you.
I seen it in the parking lot.
It's pretty accurate.
I think we're going to be okay.
I say we get busy.
Ready?
Break.
Welcome back.
Thanks, bud.
Honestly, we have a rolling chassis, which is a stunt in itself, with a motor, power, and transmission mounted in it. And empty tanks in the back, no sort of pumps or fluids or lines or electrical or anything. We basically have a wonderful foundation over there. So, doing lines pretty much today. Brake lines, hydraulic clutch lines, wiring, fuel lines, intercooler lines. Lines for days. There is somebody in every corner of this car, so I'm hiding back here in the trunk. Actually, what I'm trying to do is figure out a routing for the brake lines. Generally, I like to hang the lines off of the frame. That way, if you have to pull the rear end out, you don't have to bleed the brakes. You can just unhook the caliper, hang the caliper on the frame, drop the rear end, put it back in. You don't have to go into the hydraulic system at all. A couple things you have to take into consideration is the articulation of the rear end, the fact that it's got a little tiny sway bar right there. I'm pretty sure somebody's leaving with 100% throttle, so this thing is going to squat way down. So trying to keep all these lines in a spot where they don't interfere with anything. They look clean. They're professional. It is Dennis Taylor. Got a reputation to protect here. And get everything mocked up. So that's what I'm doing. Mocking it all up right now. I'm going to hard line it to the frame and then hook these flex lines to little bulkhead fittings that I put on the frame rail. Pretty much just trying to stay out of Dennis's way.
At this point, staying out of Dad's way simply meant making room in the Savoy so he and Greg could actually measure, fit, and weld the steering column shaft to the correct length, and then position it through a cutout in the firewall and bolt the steering column into place. Getting this done allowed us to move forward with drilling holes for our brake and clutch lines to the master cylinders inside the car, so that way we could install the pedal assembly for a final time.
So what we're doing here is making side windows out of Lexan. but I'm laying it out on a piece of what we call chipboard. So we're making one piece, 3/16 Lexan side windows, just to save some weight, and it'll look a little better. The back window, we're going to leave the stock factory tempered glass because we want the weight in the rear. The windshield, they'd already ordered a brand new glass windshield, so we're going to leave that. Because of time, we're just going to screw them in the doors and not make them go up and down right now. But they can come back and put a power window regulator if they decide to later on.
All right, so new day back at actual Hot Rod Garage. A lot got done yesterday. I can say it was much better working conditions than prior.
Right, we got the AC working.
But as far as what we checked off the list, there was a lot that happened during the day, and then when it got time for Hot Rod Garage after hours, the late show with Hot Rod Garage,
Exactly.
we got even more work done.
Yeah, you are quite the welder there, lady.
I feel like I've burned my fingertips off, but it's okay.
But is the cage done?
The cage is done. So the actual car itself is being painted right now by Jenna. Bell housing can go on, trans can go in, drive shaft can go on. We can check the drive shaft angle and pinion angle and all that, make sure that's good to go. But I expect a full day later on.
Ding. Fries are done. Fries are done. Fries are done. Fries.
So we are 3 days away from needing to put the car on the transport, and I am stuck here at this desk, which feels a little bit not productive. But once I tell you what's going on, you'll understand. So when we originally dove into this project, we went over to Holley, and we were going to be using the Holley Dominator to control all of the different things that we wanted to. Once we really dove into it, we found out that Dodge was actually sending us their stock ECU or ECM, and we would need to be using that for the competition. So I've been keeping an eye on our competitors, and they're running things like nitrous, and they've got all kinds of trick components that they're going to be running, and we don't want to be missing out on something there. With that said, we're doing some research today on, one, the wiring for the Hellcrate 6.2 liter engine that came. We did our research and then reached out to our friends at HP Tuners, who have lots of background with stock programming, as well as different components that we need to add to run stuff like our progressive nitrous controller and things like that, our rev limiter and our tach and different things that we might need to monitor or use to have the best chance of winning this race at Woodward. So things that we will be controlling outside of just your regular running and riding is we have a clutch slipper from Bang Shift Billy, and I want a shift light so that way we don't miss a shift, and then we want to have a rev limiter for the 2-step, so that way when we pull into the lights or the arm drop and stage, we can put the car on the rev limiter and have a lower rev limiter than our main rev limiter. But we had to get these components figured out, so one, we can get them in time, and two, we have all the stuff we need to make this car really successful. So I'll be here for a while, and there'll be lots of work going on over there, and then eventually you'll see the fruits of this labor come to be.
I'm going to run the cables to the front. I talked it over with Dennis whether or not he wanted to go through the inside of the cabin. He said underneath the car next to the main frame was more than adequate, so that's what I'm going for. So I'm going to start pulling the battery cables forward, pulling a harness from the front to the back. It's going to run the bilge pump, intercooler pump, and fuel pump, and a bunch of cooler lines we got to run to the back. So here we go.
In reality, we could have dedicated a full episode to running lines, wires, and hoses for a custom-built race car all by itself. But the work really picked up from here. Dad and Greg finished up our steering, and Greg made sure our pedals were reinforced and strong enough to take the abuse that they would be seeing when we were power shifting at Roadkill nights. And then came the final secret weapon, our extra power adder in a bottle.
Behind me, we have some exciting work going on. We got the nitrous bottle mounted, and we're plumbing and wiring all of the nitrous system right now, which I don't know if you guys are thinking the way I'm thinking, but nitrous means power. Power equals more fun, and so that means it's a good day. Tying back to what I was doing earlier with research, we need a way to progressively control our nitrous that we are going to be spraying on the track. So one of the options to do if you don't have a progressive controller is just to do wide open throttle, where you put your foot down and anytime it sees wide open throttle, you're spraying all your nitrous or the size of shot that you would be spraying. The other option is that you can do it on a button where you have to hold it, and the only time the nitrous is spraying is when you're physically holding the button. With the progressive controller, we can program it and have a nitrous curve, basically. So foot all the way to the floor, full throttle, wide open throttle, and then it will progressively control over whatever parameters we set. So the shot will increase, and we can power management, and our progressive controller that we have purchased also has some data logging capabilities, which I'm also a fan of. Today has been a lot of finding things to do and getting the last components that we need, and piddling tonight. But that piddling is important because it's tying up all the loose ends that we need to, so we can move on to the big stuff tomorrow. So I'm going to clean up a little bit here, and then we're going to get out because tomorrow starts bright and early.
So before it gets to be a roller, I'm in wiring jail still.
I actually feel that because I have spent all morning sorting those wires so you can hook them up.
I've seen that. I get rid of 6 wires. You give me 15 more.
Figuring out on the backside is definitely a complicated situation right now.
Good times.
Something like that. Fuel tanks going in.
Right.
Realistically, if we could get tires mounted on the wheels and then wheels and tires mounted on the car, that would be awesome. If we could see fenders and core support kind of going in place. We did get new bumpers that are ready to go on as well. So if we could see the front start to take shape, that would be some great things to check off the list. So there's going to be a couple projects with loose ends leading into tomorrow, but some stuff that can wrap up today as well.
Okay, so what I'm doing right now is installing the little fuse box / relay box, which runs the stuff on the factory Mopar harness. Generally, this will be located in the engine compartment on the shock tower. This is a Taylor-built race car. We've got no time for no sneaking shock towers on race cars. So I put it up here in the firewall they fabricated. I'm just going to reroute some of the harness. Luckily, there's more than enough wire. See what I did there? To just reroute it, snip out a couple of zip ties, and reroute it back up the back of the firewall. It'll plug right in, look like stock.
With our ECM now connected to the main harness wiring, Lucky finished wiring and our extra modules while Dad and Greg went about installing our custom-built Rick's Tanks gas tank. The spacing of the frame rails and the prefab tabs on the tank didn't quite allow the cell to sit flat, so we modified them with brackets that would drill into the frame for the perfect fit. One more. Thank you. All right, so when starting a build, oftentimes you actually start with the wheels and tires. We're working a little bit backwards in this situation due to time because we just now got our wheels and our build's actually almost done. Going into the competition, we wanted to focus on 3 areas, and that was, first of all, traction, big component right here. Second of all, weight reduction, and then thirdly, horsepower. If you have a lot of horsepower and you can't get it to the ground, the horsepower really doesn't matter, so that's where the traction focus comes in. When starting a car like this, you kind of have a free range of choosing what tire to go with it because you're not so confined by dimensions of wheel tubs and things like that because the wheel tubs were cut out, they're gone, we made our own. So we actually are able to go ahead and run a slick tire, which worked to our advantage because Hoosier is the only company that makes a slick tire that's actually DOT approved, but due to part shortages, those tires were not readily available. So that left us here with this True Slick that's a 33, 16.5, 15 tire. So we originally chose to run Billet Specialties front and rear wheels, double beadlock 15-15 in the rear street light, but a little bit happened. We asked for a really big favor, basically, of getting these wheels in a short period of time, and it just ended up not being possible. They will come eventually, and they will go on the car, but we do have their front runner that will be going on right now. So right now, in the meantime, we do have a Raystar Pro wheel that was on the shelf and matched our dimensions very specifically. So here we are. We're getting ready to install this tire onto this beadlock. Doing that is kind of a fun job, loosely said. It's actually a very tedious job, but it's pretty neat to be able to mount the tire without a tire machine or anything like that. We just got a couple tire spoons here, and we're gonna work it on and then run around the bead lock and tighten all of the bolts down. When tightening down and torquing bead lock rings, there's actually, if you do it by the instructions, there's a true pattern of a star-crossed pattern, and you make multiple passes so that way you are not putting a bind on one side versus the other. I am not doing that pattern, and I actually never do that pattern. I'm just going in a circular motion, but I'm literally making like probably 10 passes around of working it around very, very slow. I don't like the other way because I honestly lose my place when I do that. So for me, I just work around in a circle, not by the instructions, but it's Alex's instructions. Yep, okay. I think that paint looks nice. How do you want it in? Okay, all right, slide it in right there. And then I'm gonna tighten that up. Thank you. So, right now, fenders are going on, core support is getting ready to go up, and once we see this all come together with the paint and everything, we're gonna see, I already see it, it's taking shape, and you can really see that engine setback. Next, core support's going in, and the front's really taking shape. That looks awesome. This looks awesome. It's actually going to go up inside the fender about 2 more inches once it settles down to ride height, and it's gonna look really good. The fender from the driver's side to the passenger side is actually a little bit different, so we had to find a compromise for the center line in the front. So it actually looks really good how it turned out, and that sits perfectly in the center of the opening, and I'm really happy with it. Okay, and with that said, now after we can wipe the drool off of our mouse here, because it looks so good, we need to go ahead and get the core support mounted and fixtured, and then that means the radiator can go in, and then we can work on the cooling system, and you guys know what that means. We can check more stuff off the list.
So what I'm wiring up right now is the switch panel. This thing is located above her head where she can conveniently reach up and turn it on and off. It's a convenience I'm not really familiar with. It's crazy. I'm gonna wire this thing up, get it back installed, drop all the wires on the right side, just a convenient spot. If there's an adjustment or a tune or something that needs to be done, somebody can do that just by opening the passenger door, sitting down and plugging in. The driver never has to leave the seat, always ready to race. You don't want none of this. Switch panel is all soldered together and crimped up. Made a little umbilical cord. It's going to go over the passenger side right there. Mount this back up here and then start plugging stuff in.
Okay, so it's door time. The point is to get the door on the car so that way we can make a aluminum insert and really kind of strengthen it up and stiffen it up to keep it from walking around.
Yeah, since we cut all the steel out for weight, now we have this issue.
Which is a lot lighter. It's gonna be nice. And then we'll have Lexan windows, so we have a lot lighter door overall. But I say we get it up there, and then not only is it gonna look cool, we're also gonna see the paint scheme start to come together.
That's what's exciting.
So when you're in the middle of a build, you know, and it's like halfway and you want to just kind of quit because it's hard, you guys know. But right now, it's startup time.
Yeah, we got plenty more work to do, but honestly, if it'll start, let's start it.
I mean, I'm excited. So this is a moment, this is a big deal, guys. This is 807 horsepower of goodness crate engine, and we're one switch away.
Could you get to that?
The big reveal.
It runs a little quieter than I thought it was gonna.
Yeah, it's a chemical burn is what that is.
That's a chemical burn. So we have a lot more work to do, but it's running. And we have a couple more hours, you know?
Yeah.
We've actually got like 24. All right, so big moment is happening, and that is the car getting cut off of the jig. So right now we're cutting off a few of the braces. We'll get the final cuts when it's down and dropped, but we're actually getting ready to put the tires and wheels on the rear, which is going to totally change the looks of this car. Right now you could almost accidentally mistake it for a street cruiser or something fun to cruise around in. This car means business, and we're almost at that time. This is a pretty dang big moment because a lot of the build has been based around these right here and making it fit, because that's our traction and our key to doing really good at woodwork. And putting these on the car is kind of a feat in itself, because as you can see, there is not an open quarter panel here, so it's a whole process of wrestling and stuff. The other thing is, right now, it's a big moment because we actually don't know for a fact that these are gonna fit and all of that. So we're gonna cross our fingers and hope it all goes smooth, and we'll know in a few minutes. It's on the ground and it looks legitimately amazing.
Wicked fast sitting
We did
there.
the math, and there was a couple days off, some really weird circumstances, and yet this car still came together in 28 days. There's been an amazing effort by the Hot Rod Garage team, our extra friends that we pulled in, like Dad and Greg, as well as Jenna and Pavi for doing design work. I mean, it's been an effort, but it's been a really worthwhile effort.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot to wrap up, but we need to go to the dyno.
Yeah.
Break the clutch in, which is 500 clutch presses later, then we actually get to dyno.
It's leg day.
It's singular leg day.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got places to be and things to do, and that is make horsepower. So we will see you guys at the dyno.
We are here at Balto Performance in sunny downtown Signal Hill, California. We've been here many times.
I have been here once. You have been here many times.
This is twice?
Twice.
We've been here many times.
This time with a lot more horsepower than what we had before.
And a lot less weight.
So on this, we are running the HP tuners with the Dodge stock ECU, as well as a Nitrous Outlet Pro Max progressive nitrous controller, and we have a Stage 6 two-step box in there. We also have the Bang Shift Billy clutch controller. So before we get into dialing all that in, we have to break the clutch in.
We were 4 hours late getting here.
Yeah.
And then we had to do leg presses, 250 per side.
I actually skipped 250. I didn't tell you.
Okay, whatever. No one likes a quitter, but whatever. Tuner Tom had to sit in there and get some sort of a personal relationship
So,
with the tune.
With that said, he's also figuring out he had to read the tune, get a bass line on it, and all of that. We've seen a couple soft pulls so far.
Yeah, well, that last pull, he told me the only reason he let off the gas is because his ears were ringing through the ear protection.
We made 22 pounds of boost, and stock, I believe he said they're about 10 to 12. So we have the 10% overdrive pulley on the crank, and we saw 22 pounds of boost. And that's still no spray.
That pulley only required this much clearance to bolt on. Let's talk about your projections. What do you think is going to be at the tire at the end?
A lot.
I think in excess.
I don't want to limit it. I don't want it to hear me. I want it to think its possibilities are endless. So we're actually just getting our night started around 11 o'clock. We got to do some full pulls and get some fuel more in line and things like that. And then we get to start with the nitrous.
Fourth gear.
After our first few pulls, we realized that we needed to sort through a minor fuel pressure issue that we saw once we started making more horsepower. It was a simple wiring fix that allowed the pump to make more pressure. Then we made a couple more passes on the dyno to work on the bass tune before we decided to mix in some nitrous.
So the deal is the exhaust dumps right about where your knees are in the car, and there's no cover to the center console. Normally the cover of the center console it does a lot more than cover the center console. Whenever you decel, cold air rushes back in and ignites unburnt fuel, and there's a nice little fire explosion. But in the meantime, he's getting his arm shaved every pass.
Once we had a handle on the fuel and spark and the basic tune and everything looked good, we decided to work on the nitrous tune with a small nitrous jet, so that way we could start working our way up to more nitrous and higher horsepower. But in typical Savoy fashion, there was a little bit of a hiccup. We had to sort through the logic of activating the nitrous with the controller, and in the process, the switch that activates the clutch slipper was turned on. Tuner Tom depressed the clutch back to back to check the signal, which sent too much fluid to the throwout bearing, causing it to blow out, which was an honest mistake that happened in a haste because we didn't have a chance to discuss how the device worked. Nonetheless, it put our tuning session on pause.
So, maybe not quite the cap to the night that we wanted, but we still saw some good horsepower.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell our issue or should I?
I will admit to nothing, but I will say that we outran an O-ring.
We did do that. We went to figure out why the nitrous wasn't working because we'd made some really good powers.
Amazing numbers.
Because we had made some really good pulls with some great horsepower, so it's time to spray a little bit of nitrous. So we flipped the switch, turned it on, which also activated our bank shift delay clutch controller.
Launch control, yeah.
Which we didn't get to set up.
Right.
Turns out we didn't get to set a lot of stuff up here. So we're fighting some battles, and long story short, we double pumped the clutch, blew some seals out, and it's fixable.
Race car parts, race car problems.
Race car solutions.
Correct.
So first of all, I have to be a little bit biased here. I have to send a huge shout out to my dad for literally like stopping his life for a month and coming out, and then our buddy Greg for coming up to Quarantine Garage as well.
Extra thanks to them from me for covering for me being sick and doing all the stuff I have no idea how to do. If you don't got to be the smartest guy in the room, but if you surround yourself by smart people, you look cool. That's it for this episode of Hot Rod Garage. As always, thank you for all your support and following the show. I'm Mobile Tech Lucky on social media. You are?
Alex Taylor Racing.
And who are we?
You didn't ask that question.
Oh.
We're Hot Rod Garage.
Yes, we are.
And either way, we will see you guys at Roadkill Nights next week.